Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey,
It is results from Survivor Series War Games 2024 first up. Let's just crack into it. Match order. Women's War Games match was first up. We had Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Io Sky, and Bailey on the face side of things as a replacement for Jade Cargill. And then on the heel side of things, we had Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. Both women's world titles and the Money in the Bank briefcase all stacked on one side, and they didn't raise their hands at the end of the match.
no, this match was not good. It had a lot of issues, and part of it was, for some reason, they made Nia Jax start the match. I have no idea what the decision was on that one, because she's gotten much better, but she's not a cardio person. That's kind of the role you need to be, in order to start a match like this.
Yeah, the match went, 38 minutes. That is quite a time. And if you told me that there was a Nia Jax match where she went for 38 minutes, I would probably be saying the same thing, that was pretty bad booking.
Yeah. I mean, and you could tell it just from the fact that at the very end with the chair shots, she couldn't put anything behind them because she had nothing left. Um, I don't blame her. I blame whoever booked the match, whoever was the producer of the match, because that was definitely a negative for it. And then there were several times when the performers just seemed lost, like they forgot their spot or something. And then the most predictable thing in the entire match happened, and that was Io Sky in her trash can.
I don't even know if you get to count it as predictable. It was telegraphed, custom painted, carried up to the
It
top.
it happens in every time she's in that match. That's why it was predictable.
Yeah, it's.
And
I
another
don't know. Stop doing the spot.
Yeah, another problem was the women kept forgetting where exactly their weapons were hidden under the ring. They had to keep searching for them. That was another problem. It was nothing of the fault of the 10 women overall. It didn't click. And unfortunately, that hurt that match really badly. It was easily the worst match of the night.
Yeah, I think when you look at a match normally, right, classic little one-on-one match, it's really easy to look at them and be like, okay, well, those two just didn't click, as you said. They didn't have the chemistry, the match didn't work, and maybe they delivered a subpar or even just an average match. When you look at a War Games match, there's 10 humans. That's not even including the non-human elements of what's happening in a War Games match, and so it feels like the odds of something not clicking should be way higher, because there's just so many different elements and moving pieces, and some people obviously like Sky, who's been in all of the matches, but there's also some people who haven't been in any or haven't been in very few. And it's a lot of pieces all over the board. Sometimes, like a Royal Rumble, can get a little messy in the middle as well. Sometimes, like this case, the War Games matchup was just a little more miss than hit.
Yeah, but still, it wasn't terrible. I think we need to specify that it wasn't terrible. It just wasn't good.
Yeah, it's yet another case, as well, storylines wise, where it's obvious Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley is still what they were gonna do. That was pretty clear from a mile away. Sky obviously has her shot at Saturday Night Main Event. I'm presuming we're gonna just blow right through that one and then have Ripley Morgan later on. Nia Jax continues to hold her championship. Tiffany didn't cash in. We did get a little tease, but we didn't go through with it, and so we're still waiting on that trigger as well. So this one didn't necessarily wrap up any storylines. They sort of just took the storylines coming into it that were there, and they were still there coming out the other end.
For the record, the person that should have started the match on the heel side was should have been Candice LeRae. I think that would have been a much better outcome for the overall flow of the match.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Well, let's talk about the next match, which I'm sure you're going to have positive words to say about. Two of your favorites going head-to-head. LA Knight defending his United States Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura. Sub 10 minutes, and we got ourselves a new champ.
And I don't mind it. I think they've at least trying to give Nakamura a new type of character. So they're working with him. LA Knight's run was over with. I don't know where they go from here with him, but it definitely needed a change because they absolutely, because the U.S. title reign was not good, despite what I've seen on the internet and some people saying it was amazing and he's moving on to better things. I don't know what he's doing next, but it was an average U.S. title reign at best.
Yeah, I don't know if this one's a case of, too late. Did we not capitalize on LA Knight when he was? Is it just a case of Knight is 10 times better in the chase than he is with the championship? I think we talked about it in the last 8 weeks of shows that WWE struggles a little bit with a face mid-card champion. I don't know. Very similarly to the Women's War Games match, something with LA Knight and his United States title reign just didn't click. And wasn't doing numbers, at least in my opinion. So interested to see what they do with Shinsuke. As you say, the presentation's changing up a little bit. If anything, it'll at least be a fresh restart for that belt. Coming off of LA Knight, having a whole list of new challenges, opening up the doors for some other people, some mid-card faces to come up the ranks, to challenge Shinsuke. And yeah, sort of freshen up SmackDown a little bit. And then talking about the Intercontinental Championship on the other side, it's sibling belt, Bron Breakker, Sheamus, Ludwig Kaiser having a triple threat just shy of 15 minutes, and Bron Breakker still coming out holding the title high.
This was a banger. Absolute banger of a match. All three, I think, brought it. They all had something that they brought to it, whether it was Vichy's deviousness, Sheamus and his anger issues or whatever, and whatever he getting close to his goal. And then you had the champion, Bron Breakker, who can't do any wrong right now. He is the modern day tweener. He's over. People like him. People don't like him. He is in the perfect position. He is a future world heavyweight champion, and there is nothing anybody can tell me that will not happen. And I do think, and I'm throwing you a bone here, I do think Sheamus will take the title from him at WrestleMania. I think he finally accomplishes the goal. I think they'll stay away for a little bit from each other, and then come back around the Elimination Chamber, and maybe they'll do title versus career to give Braun an incentive to take the challenge. But I do think Sheamus wins the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, and then Bron Breakker lights that rocket ship and goes to the moon towards the Money in the Bank contract.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I'll happily take Sheamus getting the championship down the line. Obviously, has been something that has been the centerpiece of storylines, and so very interested to see if they do pull that trigger for Sheamus. Bron Breakker, $1 million, as you said. Can't repeat it enough. Then on Raw, Bron Breakker's talking to Ludwig, and he's like, "You gotta get out of Gunther's shadow." Does lay in a little bit of a hint that he might end up going after the World Heavyweight Champion. But it is continuing that storyline again of Kaiser stepping out of the shadow, being his own man, Bron Breakker being a poop stirrer, and it's all feeding together. I don't know what the exact next challenge for Bron Breakker's championship is going to be. As you said, maybe we need to lay off the Sheamus stuff. Maybe Kaiser gets a one-on-one. Maybe we move away from this entirely and we give Braun a new challenger. The options are quite wide open at the moment, and Raw is running pretty hot right now as well, with some of the stuff that I'm sure we'll talk about if we have time after the Survivor Series results. So there's a lot of that mid-card, upper mid-card talent on Raw that could be opening doors for Bron Breakker, could be putting on good matches. Interested to see what his next feud is going to end up being, or his next championship defense.
Honestly, I think it'll be Saturday night main event against Ludwig. I think that'll be his next opponent.
Fair enough. The Saturday night main event is like sneaking up on me. We keep getting matches announced for it, and I keep forgetting that we're having it before the end of the year. I'm so used to, Survivor Series and then boom. Maybe we get a day one or something like that, but I keep forgetting we got Saturday night main event, and we will probably want to stack that show up a little bit.
Yeah, it's only 2 weeks away.
Well, let's talk about one more match before we head into the entrance theme. Gunther, Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship, just shy of 20 minutes. Gunther walking away with the title still, thanks to yet another Finn Balor interference.
And this one really annoyed the champion. Because right after it happened, Finn Balor got destroyed by Gunther. It was a great match. It was worthy of a world title match. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed they went right back into the Finn Balor, Damian Priest stuff, but I do think that there is a potential wrinkle that this revisiting of the story may potentially give us. Because on Raw, there was definitely some hints at some issues potentially between Dominic Mysterio and Finn. And I don't know if you were paying attention to the crowd that much, but they were more mixed than usual towards Dom. Almost as if they're starting to accept him.
Yeah, I don't know how he's done it. Especially with all the stuff with Rhea, with Liv, with Raquel, and all of that building. We've seen that he's an absolute heat magnet. But you're right, when it was Gunther versus Priest on the weekend, Gunther really wanted it to be nice and clean. Finn comes out, ruins the match, and that's kind of the storyline they're going with. Finn ruined it for the crowd, he ruined it for Gunther, he ruined it for Damian Priest. Nobody's happy. Then on Raw, as you say, Dominic Mysterio versus Gunther. Mysterio starting to get a little bit of momentum behind him. Gunther taking him seriously as a challenger. Boom, Finn comes out, ruins it. Ruins it for Dominic, ruins it for Gunther, ruins it for the crowd again. And they're really laying it on thick that Finn is the big evil in all of this. Constantly just ruining things for people he's kicked out of the group, ruining things for people who are still in the group, ruining things for Gunther. Obviously, in the short term, Gunther versus Finn Balor, but everything's going to catch up to Finn. And I think it's going to catch up to Finn pretty soon. We thought the Judgment Day were going to explode at some point in time. And then instead we just removed a couple of the members, continued it on. It's been a bit of an echo of its past self, past its expiry date potentially. And if it is going to explode, it's going to be because Finn Balor's a word I can't say on radio.
Yeah, because Finn put his hands in too many different pots, and And also, can we say a year ago we would not have seen Dominic Mysterio hold his own against a Gunther in a against the world champion the way he did on Monday night.
Mhm.
I think Dom is really close to being considered for a world title run himself. I don't know when it would happen because there are a lot of variables there.
Yeah.
Because as we just talked about, there's another youngster in with his second generation that's also kind of in the way. But I think I think a Dominic Mysterio breaker could potentially main event a WrestleMania in the next 2 years, and it not be as far fetched as it would have sounded not too long ago.
Yeah, Raw really is heating up with the talent it's got, and I'm excited to see what sort of combinations we shake out of this coming into the new year, coming through the Royal Rumble with WrestleMania on the horizon, and the new year. Obviously, both the World Championships are a little tied up right now, but who knows when we hit that season premiere on Netflix? Even things could change up. Around the bazaars, and interested to see where they all go. Well, it is time to talk about our entrance theme of the week. It is going to be the New Day's theme, and hopefully we got time after all this Survivor Series discussion to talk about what happened on Raw, or this song's going to make no sense.
It's a new day, yes it is!
And you're back to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. I'm Grady, he's Josh. We got one last match on Survivor Series. It was the men's War Games matchup. We had the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tamatonga, and Tonga Loa, as well as Bronson Reed on one side of the ring. And then on the other side of the ring, we had Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso.
I know that it completely would have gone over somebody like you because you're not a American football fan, but
That is correct.
I loved the entrance things they did for both the women and the men, mimicking the football players' introductions on Sunday Night Football. I absolutely love that. I want to put that out there first.
I want to say that I am a fan of Key and Peele, and as such, I have seen jokes about the NFL intros, so I am aware of the.
Yeah. It was fun. It was entertaining. That was wonderful. This match was brilliant. As bad as we talked about the first match, we had to flip it because that's how good everything worked with the second match. Down even to the stuff with Punk and Reigns, with the way that they prevented each other from going out and stuff. And it built and built and built. And then you have the moment where the new bloodline has the advantage because it's 5v4 and Roman's supposed to be coming in, but they've locked him out. How is he going to get in the match? How is he going to get in the match to actually start the match to be able to have somebody win it? And he climbs it, and so, which is something you wouldn't think he would have done. A year ago, he certainly wouldn't have. And he kicks butt as usual. Then he gets the numbers game comes up on him, and then he's saved by CM Punk. And the whole story from that point on is just can Roman trust Punk? Can Punk trust Roman? And slowly you have them building like this, like pseudo trust for this match only. And then I got my tsunami off the top of the cage. I'm happy. I'm not happy he's hurt, but I'm happy I got the spot. And then they took out Jacob Fatu, which may have taken himself out of the process as typical. But that was fun. And then you had the 5-on-1 by the faces on Solo. And you have Roman still trying to give him a chance. There is still part of Roman that loves Solo Sikoa and doesn't want to do this. But at the end of the day, the faces won, and for the story they're telling, it makes sense. As much as we moan and groan about the new bloodline needing this and that, there is still elements that they can still do for the new bloodline, because they made a point of it that Solo still had the Ulafala. So at some point, that is coming to play, and there will be a singles match between them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Bloodline portion of this storyline all shakes out. We've obviously seen how the Raw side of things with Zayn, Jay, and Punk has shaken out, which we may or may not get time to talk about. But with SmackDown this week, we'll probably advance the Reigns Jimmy Bloodline side. Again, I echo everything you said. Banger match, banger storytelling throughout. We'll have to see whether we go Reigns solo singles. I'm sure The Rock would love to poke his nose in if the Ulafala is up for grabs. So many bits and pieces and swerves that we can still do in that storyline. I do think we are a little bit better off having had the War Games match. I was starting to think, coming into it, did we really need Bloodline v Bloodline at this year's Survivor Series? Because it did come together so quickly. They pulled it off, the match worked well, everybody sort of made sense why they were in the match, and now you just got to see if they handle the landing on the other side of it, which I'm sure they will. The Bloodline storyline has had very few misses when it comes to things, but yeah, been good.
Yeah. And then we also have to ask, what is the favor? That is one of the things that are coming out of this is, what is CM Punk going to ask Paul Heyman for? I personally think it'll be him coming out with him at WrestleMania during his match with Punk. But I do have another thing that could be depending on what they want to do with the world titles. Because there is an element that there could be a potential number one contender match at Elimination Chamber between Punk and Roman for if they give one of the titles to Seth. And the favor is that he has to Paul Heyman has to help him win the match.
Yeah, I think there's a number of things. It potentially is going to be one of these storylines that could take a little while to pay off. I do think they would be better to pay it off sooner rather than later. Heading into WrestleMania with the Seth Rollins feud, with the potential of wanting to win a Rumble, go on to main event a WrestleMania, with the potential of Punk versus Gunther, which has been rumored around for a little while. There are a lot of things where CM Punk could want that little bit of a leg up, want that little bit of help from Paul Heyman. I also want to see what Heyman's involvement in the Bloodline storyline going forward. Is he going to be in here week in, week out now? Back in the corner of Roman Reigns? Is he going to flip? There's still so many different little puzzle pieces floating around. But one puzzle piece I do want to get to, I know we have minutes left in the show, but we did play the entrance theme, The New Day. It was the anniversary of The New Day coming together, and, well, two of them are still together. Does it count as a breakup? Does it not?
It technically does, but I will say this. It was in a way that I don't think anybody would have seen coming. The stuff between the three of them was emotional. That's all I can really say. It was emotional. And everything that Woods and Kofi said, technically you can't deny, because at any point Biggie could have come back as a manager for them. Instead, he left them to flounder on their own while he took a cushy desk job. I do think that this is an element to getting Biggie back in the ring. I think they've cleared him, and I think there's going to be a spot at the Rumble where you have Kofi and Xavier in the ring together, and you're going to have that countdown. And then Big E's music hits, and he comes out, and he levels them. And it leads to either it leads to a match at WrestleMania between them, or it turns them back face. But I think that's where we're going. I think there was too much emphasis. The fact that he came out not to the New Day's music but his own should have been a clue to people. And I think that's where we're going. I think they cleared him.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see what the weeks coming hold, because for now we have run out of time. It's been great talking to you.
Maybe.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D up, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D up, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling RND up. And we will catch you next week.